Sobriety Essays number 69. Feelings. The day I got sober, I did not care about the wife anymore, as she would take everything. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to die. It was not going to be a quick death. It was going to be a very slow, miserable death. It was going to be a slow loss of living in a nice house, to an apartment, to a rented room, to an alleyway and a cardboard box. There was that moment in my life I needed help, and I only knew one place to go. I was going to put myself into an alcoholic rehab. I had experience going to 2 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and they did not work. Of course, they were only 4 years apart. I did not know what else to do. Now, I had met a man at work who was a declared alcoholic. I asked him about a year before I got sober, "Joe, how does it feel to be an ex-alcoholic?" To which he replied, "Chuck, I am an alcoholic, I just choose not to drink." I had never met anyone who stated that they were alcoholic. The other thing I did not realize at the moment, I had just let Joe know that I had a drinking problem that I was not ready to admit to. About 6 months later, my drinking had become steadily worse. I asked Joe, "How did you stop drinking?" Joe held out his hands with his hands forming a cup and said, "I gave my living problems to God. I gave my drinking problems to God. I am only responsible for the first drink, and I am only responsible one day at a time." I simply did not understand. The day I got sober, I knew that I could not stop drinking on my own. I needed help. I got up and walked out of a business meeting and went looking for Joe. Yes, I was a businessman. I had a nice house, a nice wife, a nice job, a nice car, and a nice wristwatch. I could not be an alcoholic. What I did not know at the time, by getting up and walking out of that business meeting, going to look for Joe, I had just admitted I had a drinking problem without knowing that I had just admitted to myself I had a drinking problem. Step 1. Shaking like a leaf in a strong wind, I knew I could not get in my own car and drive me home. God has a sense of humor. The very day I went looking for Joe, he had taken a day off. I was coming apart at the scene. I did not know what to do. Sooner or later, I was going to make a scene at work. Crying, curling up on the floor in a fetal position. Not knowing what else to do, I turned to the lady at the desk next to me and told her what was happening to me. You don't think God had a plan? She turned out to have 14 years in Al-Anon. She got me a cup of coffee. She got me to sit down, and she called Joe. The first signs of unconditional love was Joe and his wife drove over to the plant and put me in the passenger seat of my own car and drove me home. I have been sober ever since. 41 years, 2 months, and a couple of days. But it's still one day at a time program. Now, some things begin to happen that I did not know was going to happen. Removing the alcohol from my system, I started to feel feelings that I had never felt before. I did not realize that my drinking was covering up a lot of my feelings. So I started to feel feelings of anger, despair, shame, the feelings of a lost soul. Getting into a rehab, they put me into a room alone with me. Not in very good company. They gave me a book of Alcoholics Anonymous referred to as the Big Book. They gave me a copy of the 12 and 12, and I discovered there was no doorknobs on my side of the door. And then I said the best prayer of my entire life: God, please help me. Now, basically, what I learned in rehab was to go to AA meetings. They would load up a group of us and take us each day to a different type of AA meeting. There were open discussion group, closed discussion group, a men's stag meeting, a big book study, and a 12 and 12 reading group. One day each week, they would take us to a speaker meeting where there was sometimes a panel. A group of people sharing their experience, strength, and hope, sometimes just a single speaker. But all these feelings were coming to the surface, and I was angry, afraid, and ashamed. Now I tried to quit thinking and do what I was told to do. I got me a sponsor. Some guy walked into an AA meeting wearing a three-piece suit, and I can relate to wearing a three-piece suit. I had no idea who this guy was, but he said he would be my sponsor. One of the first things he told me, he was not interested in my thinking. He had heard my thinking in a bar. All he wanted to hear was how I was feeling. I started to live life on life's terms, and all these overwhelming feelings came to the surface. We did a 5th step together, and surprisingly, I did a very good job on the first try. I knew I was not going to get everything the first time around. But I decided that if it entered my head, it was going on that piece of paper called a 4th step. After this, he said something to me that will always stay with me. As we were leaving the room, he said, "What was said here stays here. What was given to God, let God keep." The tremendous amount of weight that came off my shoulders was huge. So today I am feeling okay with me most of the time. there's still a real world out there, and I can still have unwanted feelings pop up. And it is a nice thing to know how to deal with them. Or just let go of them. Give them to God and go help somebody else. Over the years, I have sponsored a lot of guys. The first things I tell them, I'm not interested in what you're thinking, I am only interested in your feelings. I feel good writing this story.